Chapter 112. Satisfying her hobby. There is an island in the southern base that is very beautiful, and it is even better than Yiahi Highland. Because safety is the first priority, Yiahi Island is surrounded by cliffs on 3 sides, and has nothing to do with the sea. Nothing happened in the base today. Muzikang brought Wei Ran and Gu Ming to the island. As soon as Wei Ran came here, she was completely fascinated by the fairyland-like scenery, and said that she would stay here for a few days. There is a white sandy beach here. The sea water is not as dark blue as before, but light blue and clear to the bottom, which can clearly see all the creatures swimming underneath. Moreover, there is a rare island sea in the island, as if someone had a huge hole that gradually deepened in the middle, and then it was filled with water. Wei Ran noticed that in the shallow sea on the far left there was a lush and dense forest growing in the sea, and it looked strangely half-human tall. She ran over and looked carefully for a while. With a look of surprise on his face, a bottle suddenly appeared in his hand and he ran to the huge hole to fill some, and then disappeared in an instant. When she came out, he quickly ran to Muzikang. "Brother, you can dive in this huge cave." Muzikang caught Wei Ran, who was pounced on him like a butterfly, and frowned slightly. "Slow down. Su Yui and the others don't know what to say." Yan Ying asked with a look of surprise, "What's the matter with Xiao Ran? Didn't you say that you can't touch the water outside?" Wei Ran was still excited, pointing to the large grove. "The one that grows in the giant hole by the shallow water is the mandala tree, which is so harsh on the environment that it grows, and even a little water pollution can kill it quickly." Jiang Nanfeng and the others still didn't understand, and Muzikang's eyes flashed a strangeness, because he understood what Wei Ran meant. "You mean the water in this giant hole isn't polluted?" Wei Ran nodded heavily, and she took out a small piece of rhizome that she had just broken off and held it up for them to see. "Why does the mandala tree have strict requirements on water quality? Because its entire root is full of fungus." Muzikang saw that the root was indeed a layer of white fluff, and when he looked carefully he could still move slightly. Wei Ran went on to say, "Look, this is the water I just filled the giant cave and the water from the outer sea." There was nothing unusual when she put the rhizome in the bottle of the giant cave, but when she put the water in the outer sea, the rhizome, the real yin, escaped from death at a speed visible to the naked eye. Su Yi and the others couldn't believe it. Chen Wei even said with emotion in the same place, "Why is this giant cave so good?" Muzikang looked at the giant cave again. Although the water in this giant cave is clear, it is not quite the same as the slightly turbid sea water. He has been able to guess the approximate. This is not seawater, it's the water that rises from the deepest layer of the ground, which we usually drink at the base. Wei Ran snapped her fingers. "Brother is right. Because I have already tested it to avoid mistakes. The water in the giant cave has never been polluted." Jiang Nanfeng exclaimed with great interest. "Brothers, what are you waiting for? Xiao Ran, quickly take out the diving suit, and now you can have a good time diving." All of these people were diving enthusiasts before, including Su Yi and Yan Yan Yan. Since the end of the world, they have lost too much fun. Wait for them to put on their diving suits and bring their oxygen tanks. Muzikang checked Wei Ran's diving equipment again, and repeatedly asked, "Although you have dived before, it was a long time ago, so you have to follow me after you go down and you can't leave too far, you know? Whatever happens, don't panic, I'm here." When diving, you must keep your mood calm, because the deeper the water, the greater the water pressure. If the mood changes, it is very easy to cause physical danger. Wei Ran nodded with a smile. I know. Gu Ming and Jiang Nanfeng went down first, followed by Su Yi and Yan Yan Yang, and then Chen Wei. Muzikang and Wei Ran were the last to jump in. "When I first jumped down, I felt a chill due to the late autumn, but it may be because of the deep groundwater gushing out, and the water felt slightly warmer as I went down." Suddenly, something swiftly swam past her. Coa. Wei Ran was taken aback suddenly, and quickly hid behind Muzikang. Muzikang caressed her back and pointed forward. Only then did I realize that it was just a big fish 1 meter long. King gestured to her whether it was okay. Wei Ran responded okay. She touched the inner wall of the huge cave and found that it was uneven, and many stones that were as long as an arm protruded. This giant hole does not have any man-made traces, but is formed purely naturally. As it went down, the light gradually dimmed, and King turned on the light on her chest. He waved at her again, "Follow me closely." After Wei Ran followed King and swam downstream for a while, she noticed a cave next to her. She tugged at King and pointed to the cave. It means she wants to go in and have a look. King nodded and swam to the cave, followed closely by Wei Ran. The cave is as tall as a person, and the cave is very deep. It was completely dark inside, and only the lights could illuminate a little or two. This is if there is a feeling of fear, you will feel that there is no end to going forward, and it seems that there will be some monsters chasing you at any time in the future. She saw that, although the cave was also concave and convex, it was very uniform, and the tools used were not modern tools. This cave is man-made, and the age is long. King led her out of the entrance of the cave, and there was no way to go any further. When she thought she was going to go back home, King pointed at it. He pulled Wei Ran and swam up. After a while it surfaced. King first supported her buttocks and let her go to the ground, and then he jumped out of the water easily with his strong arms. Surrounded by darkness and no light, I can't see my 5 fingers. It's just that the light on the chest is useless, so Wei Ran took out a strong flashlight. Now I saw a stone gate standing not far ahead. Creepy. Yeah. Brother, what place do you think this is? King walked up to the exquisitely carved stone gate and reached out to touch it again. Next to it are 2 stone candlesticks where oil lamps or candles were placed in ancient times. He pondered for a while and said this should be an ancient tomb. The one just now is the tomb passage. It may be that the huge hole was formed by geological division here, which led to the tomb passage being exposed. Hearing that it was a tomb, Wei Ran excited. She was next to King and looked at him with fear and anticipation. "Can I go in?" King knew her little hobby, like watching dramas about exploring tombs and playing games about ancient tombs. He looked at her cute little expression of wanting to go but being scared. Ran wants to go, then brother will try. How can it be unsuccessful if you say it is a try? Because King was too lazy to understand the mechanism, he just pushed the stone door open with his consciousness. Wei Ran pouted slightly. "Brother, you're cheating." King laughed angrily and pinched her fair and delicate face. "You little heartless." Chapter 113. Which one is the good stubble? King led Wei Ran all the way to the tomb. He strode straight without worrying at all, and when he encountered a trap, he was all stagnated in the air by King. Wherever there is mercury, it has been detected by his consciousness, and it has been perfectly avoided. Originally, this tomb was very large, but King found it quickly and went straight to the main tomb. Wei Ran couldn't help muttering in her heart. There is a god-level boss who is not very good occasionally. As soon as she entered the main tomb, Wei Ran's flashlight felt that there was a flashback, which was a bit dazzling. She took out the solar storage lamp and turned it on, and the entire tomb was basically illuminated. Only then did I realize that the dazzling flashes just now were gold, silver and jewels all over the floor, so many that they had even piled up. There are also various styles of bronze wares. In the middle of the main tomb is a pair of top-quality golden Nanu coffins, and the coffins are covered with bright red blood Ganoderma. I didn't expect that there is such a thing as blood Ganoderma in this world. I thought it was all made up. Wei Ran walked over to take a closer look at the blood Ganoderma. Look at the owner of this tomb who was nourished by countless extremely precious ginseng Ganoderma. This is how he can grow so many blood Ganoderma. In addition, these are priceless funeral objects before the end of the world. This is a super rich family. After King observed around the main tomb, he picked up a bronze vessel on the ground and turned it over a few times in his hand. He said calmly, "This is not just a rich family, it should be the tomb of a prince and general during the Warring States period. There is no porcelain here, all bronze. There are also horses in armor, and terracotta warriors who were injected with mercury alive when they were buried to keep their bodies from decomposing." King wanted to open the coffin and take a look inside. Wei Ran pulled him and said mysteriously, "Should we light candles?" King turned his eyes sideways and snorted. Unexpectedly, he patted her forehead and said quietly, "It doesn't want to, why can't I open it?" "Oh, it hurts." Wei Ran rubbed her small forehead, pursed her mouth. "Isn't this a twisted melon, not sweet?" King raised one pinch both sides of her cheeks with hands and squeezed them in the middle. The pink lips become a pig's mouth. His always cold brows and eyes were slightly raised with a hint of meaning, and he answered irrelevantly, "Really? But I think it's quite sweet, so I forcefully break it off and take it first." Wei Ran stroked his big hand that was pinching her fair and delicate face, and used it. The little pig mouth kept begging for mercy. "Sweet, the sweetest is my brother, and I'd rather be that melon that you forcefully broke." Only then did King let go with satisfaction. Wei Ran caressed her little face with both hands. With a bitter face on his face, he muttered, "Why did it come to me?" Wei Ran collected all the blood Ganoderma lucidum on the golden Nanmu into the space. They don't eat this kind of food, but there is no guarantee that someone will be interested in it in the future, and they can accept it as a favor in the future. Then King opened the coffin with conscious control, and the rancid smell immediately spread in the dull and airless main tomb. Wei Ran took out 2 half-faced gas masks and handed one to King. After he took it, Wei Ran put it on for himself. King and Wei Ran walked over and saw that the corpse inside was not decomposed, the skin just lost its proper elasticity and smoothness. It should be due to the anti-corrosion and moisture-proof effect of the golden Nanmu, and the seal was intact when the coffin was closed. Wei Ran was curious. "What is this?" She pointed to a black round stone-shaped object with exquisite carvings placed beside the owner of the tomb. King lifted the unknown object into the air with consciousness control, and zoomed in for a while. "Just look at the carefully carved patterns surrounding the dial in the middle, and the pointer, which will move when floating in the air. The stone is a meteorite. I don't know anything else yet. Take it back first and study it slowly." Wei Ran nodded and put it away. By the way, all the gold, silver, jewelry and bronze equipment were also taken away, leaving only the war horses and terracotta warriors. In this way, Wei Ran's first tomb exploration trip ended under King's hardcore. After King took Wei Ran back from the original route, Chen Wei and the others had already returned to the side. Chen Wei teased Wei Ran, "I thought you found the treasure downstairs, but you haven't come up for so long." Wei Ran pursed her lips and smiled mysteriously. "I just found the treasure." She told about the tomb below again, and they exclaimed, clamoring to go in and have a look next time. Southern Base Office. Jiang Ninfeng reported on his work some time ago. "Brother Chang, I have formed a maintenance team to repair the signal base stations in the southern border. I have also used code programs to connect them in the background. They are currently being debugged and the call connection in the base should be restored soon. If it is wireless, it may take longer. The southern border base originally had its own exclusive base station. In the past, these things were not the most urgent at the beginning of the end of the world, so they were damaged due to lack of maintenance. Now, in the calm period, these ordinary things in life are about to start, especially after the communication equipment is connected. It is much more convenient, and there is no need for a person to keep the communication equipment plugged in as before." King nodded. "As indifferent as before for the future wireless connection, don't consider the research area for the time being. Gu Ming, Liningxia is keeping a close eye on the laboratory. Except for her previous team, no one is allowed to join." He rolled his eyes. "Layers of frost emerged from the bottom. Once you have a face, you can be killed." Gu Ming nodded in response. "Okay." Now, the Weapons Research Institute has started to manufacture new weapons based on the data saved in the Superintelligence Laboratory. The first batch of laser weapons will come out in a few months. The weapon factory is also underground, and it is fully automatic, just need to observe the data. Wei Ran asked Mu Zikang if he wanted to use the weapons in the space first, but Mu Zikang replied no. One is because of the exposure of a large number of new and powerful weapons, which may also put Wei Ran in crisis, and the other is that in the end of the world, we must leave our own way out. Therefore, the southern border base can only have a new type of laser weapon. Gu Ming and the others knew this truth without Mu Zikang reminding them, so as long as Mu Zikang didn't speak, they would never say anything more outside. It's just that Chen Wei was puzzled then where is the laser weapon fired during the test. Gu Ming grinned coldly. It's the batch they developed by themselves, and it's used as a favor. Chen Wei suddenly realized, and rarely praised Gu Ming is good enough, this favor has no cost. Wei Ran, who was on the side, listened to them. I can't help complaining in my heart. Which of these people is the good stubble? Being good at calculation is just the most basic. Chapter 114. Sin Weiren, who saw through her desire to go out to play, had already restored most of the polluted land in the southern border base, and it would take about a month to completely clear it. The vegetables grown in her back garden were too competitive, and after they were sent to the homes of Xiao Dongyang and Xiao Li, who were on missions outside, they couldn't finish them. In order not to waste, she and Yan Yang carried an oversized basket to the market to buy. The huge basket of vegetables became the focus when it came to the market. During this period of time, when Wei Ran was cleaning up the polluted land, everyone in the southern border base had heard about it, knowing that Yiahe Island had become the first place in the southern border where things could be planted. At first, a bunch of people exchanged food with them, but Wei Ran blocked them one by one. She is also very strange about the replacement items, don't want any food such as vegetables and meat. As long as she can find interesting little things, she can replace them. Those who took the food hurried back to their homes to rummaging through boxes and cabinets looking for gadgets. An old woman came over, took out 2 silver hairpins and asked, "Little girl, can this silver hairpin be exchanged with you?" Wei Ran took the hairpin and looked at it. The workmanship is fine, and the hanging ornaments are also very delicate. She asked the old woman, "This step looks pretty good." The old woman smiled, and the wrinkles on her face immediately piled up. "I made this by myself before, and I took some with me when I left in a hurry, that's all." Then, she thought of something again, waved her old hand and said, "No one has worn it before, it's new." Wei Ran nodded with a smile. "Grandma, I'll give you 2 days' worth of vegetables." Okay, the old woman laughed so hard that she couldn't keep her eyes open. Who would have thought that a hairpin that was worthless before the end of the world would be exchanged for 2 days of extremely precious vegetables in the end of the world? She showed Bu Yao to Yan Ying Xiao Yang. "This is suitable for you, little ancient fairy, I will bring it to you after I go back and clean it." Yan Yang also felt a little interesting. It's pretty. Seeing that Wei Ran and Yan Yang couldn't put their hands down on the hairpin, the others thought that they liked it, and that they went back to look for their own jewelry after they figured out the direction. So many people are wearing diamond ornaments, precious stones, and jade. Wei Ran sent them away one by one again. She couldn't help rubbing her forehead. When these people were evacuating, why did they bring all these things that they couldn't eat or use? Yan Yang laughed out loudly. Isn't this the case for all people? The most precious thing. Wei Ran sighed, suddenly feeling bored. At this time, a young man in his 20s came up and took out the laptop he was holding in his arms, full of reluctance. "I want to ask this. Is it okay?" Wei Ran took the Sydney laptop. She didn't know the value of the notebook, but judging from the appearance and interior, it was well maintained even in the last days, and she could see the importance of this computer to him. "Are you a game lover?" The young man shook his head lightly, his face full of worry. "No. I used to do computer programs, and I originally thought that there would be demand for this when I came here, but I have been in the southern border for more than a year. I've never seen this type of job being recruited. Wei Ran glanced at him a few times. I heard you have a Beijing accent. Are you from Beijing? He shook his head again. I've only worked in Beijing for many years. There is 24-hour hydropower in the southern border, so when Wei Ran opened his notebook, he saw that the screensaver inside was lit up. It was a sweet photo of him and a girl of similar age. Then, what are you doing to make a living now? Working as a temporary worker in the base. I have supernatural powers and I can go out and do some tasks. Wei Ran pondered for a while and returned the notebook to him. I don't need the notebook, you take it back yourself. The young man thought he couldn't exchange it, and his face showed disappointment. But Wei Ran's words made him smile again. But I will still exchange with you. As for the exchange, I owe you first, and I will exchange it with you later. Also, don't take out this notebook again. Maybe you will be able to find you as you wish soon. I want to do work. After the young man left, Wei Ran looked at the young man's back and sighed. If it was in the past, I guess he was a good boy who worked hard for the family. Yan Ying was caught by her, the deputy old man said with a teasing tone. Xiao Ran, you are only 19 years old, and my little brother is older than you. Haha, let's just pretend occasionally. Today Wei Ran was also arrested by Mu Ziking office. She is playing a game of fighting. There was a knock on the door of the office, and after Mu Ziking answered, he opened the door and came in. It was Chen Wei who came in, holding a folder. Brother Chang, this is the process of recruiting and compiling computer programs, and prepare for the next wireless signal connection. Although Zhang Nanfeng said that it would take some time to restore the wireless signal, he still has to start now. It is necessary to recruit personnel, because it is necessary to arrange positions according to each person's ability, and at the same time to find out personal information. When Wei Ran heard Chen Wei's words, she remembered the young man that day again, but she didn't say a word and continued to play her game. Even if she is sympathetic, it is impossible to help an ignorant person to have any chance. The day she confiscated his notebook was already the greatest help to him. Over there, Mu Zikang's deep and calm voice sounded. Just follow this procedure. Gu Ming, Nanfeng and Su Yiyai are going out to carry out missions. You follow this procedure first, and arrange other arrangements after Nanfeng comes back. Now that Wei Ran heard that she could go out to perform a mission, she stood up straight and asked Mu Ziking excitedly, what mission are they performing? Mu Zikang smiled, knowing in his heart that Wei Ran was in. What's your idea? Chen Wei replied, there is a small town 500 kilometers away, where aliens and zombies appeared at the same time. They said they would pick it up and set off tomorrow. The implication is that they are bored and want to go out for a while. Played. Wei Ran was about to move, and she also wanted to go out to play. She approached Mu Ziking with winking eyes like silk, and smiled brightly. Brother. Mu Ziking opened the folder, closed it and handed it to Chen Wei. He took the folder and walked out of the office quickly, and closed the door tightly. Wei Ran had already leisurely arrived behind Mu Ziking, and her soft white hand slipped into Mu Ziking's neck. How could Mu Ziking not know what she was thinking? I want to go. Hearing this, Wei Ran suddenly felt something was going on, and sat on his long, solid legs with a limp body. Pouting his mouth coquettishly, he said, I want to go. Mu Ziking thought that the Weapons Research Institute and the Biology Research Institute would be relatively busy in the next 2 days, and he might not have much time with her, so it would be better to let her go out for 2 days. He stroked Wei Ran's back and said softly, go if you want, but I may not be able to visit you these 2 days. I will go to you when I am free. Chapter 115. The Desolation of the Endless Hell. Tortured by Mu Ziking last night, Mr. Mu said solemnly that he would not be able to see each other for 2 days, so he had to get it back with interest. She held her waist that was about to break and gritted her teeth secretly. Why can't we meet? She still hasn't asked for it back. It takes 6 to 7 hours to drive for 500 kilometers. But this group of arrogant big brothers and sisters are no longer willing to drive. Although Mu Zikang was not there, Su Yi was still there, so why should he wrong himself? Chen Wei will not go on this mission, but will stay in the base to handle daily affairs. So Su Yi took 4 people and 1 lion directly from Yaihe Island to the destination in the blink of an eye. In fact, this small town has already been evacuated into an empty town. Although the land area is not large, the houses are too dense, so the sunlight is not easy to shine, resulting in dark and humid places. This kind of place can easily become a favorite gathering place for aliens. Although the zombies have been encircled and suppressed before, the number of zombies has only been greatly reduced, and a relatively large number of zombie groups have been wiped out, while there will still be a relatively small number of other places. Jiang Nanfeng hung a laser gun on the side. He patrolled over there once and came back, saying, "There are no aliens or zombies over there." Guming and Su Yi also came back from both sides but found nothing. At this moment, Yan Yang, who was standing beside Wei Ran, looked to the other side. "There is movement over there." Jiang Nanfeng pretended to complain. "I said you two, one can use plants to search, and the other can teleport back and forth, and you can get on the right side leisurely, so you have to pity me and Guming for running back and forth." Su Yi laughed and scolded, "Go away, don't think I don't know that your hidden words are praising you two in disguise." Wei Ran covered her mouth and laughed. "Nanfeng, you can't do without being poor for a day. Is that your other kind of love words?" Jiang Nanfeng was exposed, and Guming, who was walking in front of him, didn't seem to hear it. Only then did he pretend to roll his eyes at Su Yi and Wei Ran with a look of sneer. But he didn't see the corner of Guming's mouth hooked slightly. They walked to the house that Yan Yang mentioned. Because the plants in this town are missing in some places, it cannot be precisely located. So Wei Ran and the others could only continue to search in the direction where the anomaly was identified. There were some noises from one of the small bungalows. Something was inside, but it seemed unwilling to come out. An alien. Because zombies have no consciousness and no thoughts, they can only move forward instinctively by smelling the smell of food and meat, no matter what is in front of them. Let you all taste the taste of tears. Wei Ran threw several tear gas bombs in to force out the alien. Yan Yang couldn't help laughing. "Xiao Ran, your posture is to kill all these aliens. The small bungalow is so small that 1 tear gas bomb is enough, and she threw several of them in a row, not to torture the aliens. It's over." The smoke in the room diffused from the window to the outside, and then several people dispersed. The aliens inside finally couldn't bear the strong, irritating smell, and a dozen or so came out. Jiang Nanfeng was not far away, and it was the first time he saw the alien stumbling like a little girl. He was very happy. "Hey, look at the tears on its face. It's really sad to cry. It's a bit pity me." Wei ran over there, teased, "Then you marry it and go home. The beauty is gone." "Yes, but it's stronger." Jiang Nanfeng was about to reply when he saw a group of zombies rushing up from behind Wei Ran and Yan Yang. Wei Ran also noticed the movement behind. Yan Yang just wanted to shoot with a gun, but was stopped by Wei Ran. Her eyes were sly, and she laughed a few times. "There are aliens here, let's not waste that effort." Guming over there also thought the same way, making Jiang Nanfeng and Su Yi also retreat and hide. A few of them waited and watched from the upper and lower buildings on both sides. At this time, the intense force stimulated by the tear gas bombs has passed, and the dozens of aliens have resumed their ferocious and aggressive ferocity, as if they were very angry when they were forced to disturb them. Regardless of being under the sunny sun, one of the aliens roared angrily and rushed towards the group of zombies, and the other aliens followed closely. Zombies have never been an opponent of aliens. It originally dragged its broken and stiff body, and when it met a 2-meter-tall alien with strong attack power, it would be tantamount to death. I saw rushing into the group of zombies with a big mouth full of sharp teeth, 2 or 3 zombies in one bite. There was a hole in the stomach of a zombie, and the intestines fell out and dangled. The alien grabbed the intestines and pulled it violently, and all the internal organs were ripped out. Another alien came from behind and tore the zombie into several pieces. Cut up the body. There are more than a dozen zombies besieging an alien to bite, but the outer surface of the alien is hard, even ordinary teeth can bite through it, so these dozen zombies are still reduced to food that comes to the door automatically. Wei Ran pressed the call button on the communication device on her left shoulder, jokingly Nan Feng. I see you are very cruel. Zhang Nanfeng's puns came from the headset I like cruel ones. Su Yi said if you are not cruel, you will not be able to control your sloppiness. I agree with you. Wei Ran and Yan covered their mouths and laughed. Amidst the chatter of them coming and going, the battle between the aliens and the zombies has come to an end. Without any suspense, Alien won easily. Okay, now it's time to distribute the victory prizes. As soon as Wei Ran's voice on this side fell, there was a burst of thunder on the other side to express warm congratulations. They gathered together to conduct a re-examination and search, and determined that there were no more living alien zombies left in this town. Then, amidst the noise all the way, they came to the border of the small town. What appeared in front of their eyes was a mountain whose altitude was almost breaking the sky. Wei Ran exclaimed, "This mountain is really big." It's late autumn now, and the leaves of the dense plants on the mountain are all golden at this time, which looks good instantly. Several others felt that the scenery here was excellent. Didn't we go back to the base so soon? Then we can't go back after playing for 2 days. So Wei Ran and the others unanimously asked Su Yi to take Su Yi to the top of the mountain to camp, and watch the sunrise before returning slowly. Several people stopped after Su Yi's speed of light. But the scenery in front of him was completely different from what he had imagined. Wei Ran was surprised. What place is this? Especially Gu Ming, who had always been indifferent, also showed surprise at this moment. Xiao Bai, fly to a high place and take a look here. Wei Ran turned over and jumped onto Xiao Bai's back, asking Xiao Bai to check it out. In the past, because the small town was too small for Xiao Bai to leave, Wei Ran took it into the secret realm. Xiao Bai jumped up and flew high into the sky. Wei Ran's brows and eyes were even deeper. It was clearly noon, but at this time it was dusk. There is no chain of veins that the mountain peaks should have. It is a flat road and it is boundless. There are only a few unknown plants separated by a long distance. The thick black thorns are extremely tall, no less than 3 meters high by visual inspection. But there were no other plants, not even a blade of grass. No humans, no buildings, no living things. Where there is nothing. It's like falling into the desolation of endless hell. This is a truly barren wasteland. Chapter 116. We were trapped. After Wei Ran got down, she shook her head at them. This place is what we see now. Yan Ying looked at her and said, I can't control these plants, and they didn't respond at all. Gu Wing frowned. We tried it just now, and Su Yi also came out. No. Su Yi nodded. When I used teleportation just now, there seemed to be something blocking me here. He paused for a while, with a solemn expression on his face. I just used teleportation once, but it has already consumed half of my abilities. Wei Ran and the others were shocked by this sentence. How is this possible? With their current ability levels, even if they use advanced skills continuously, they will only consume less than half of them. Not to mention, it's just a small teleportation now. Wei Ran took out 2 bottles of power recovery water and asked Su Yi to swallow them. The power recovery water has been continuously improved by Wei Ran. For normal level power users, only one can fully restore the power. Gu Ming and the others need 3. The recovery dose of Muzi Chengxin level's abilities is unknown, because he has never tried to reduce the power to less than half. Except for the first time at Huaxia Hospital, Wei Ran forced him to drink the rest, and they were all scattered, so there was no way to verify them. The recovery time of the power recovery water is at most 5 minutes. But at this time, more than 10 minutes have passed for Su Yi, and he still hasn't recovered at all. He touched his body and wondered what's going on. How long has it been? Wei Ran discovered that the same situation happened to Xiaobai not long ago, and his ability was halved and he couldn't recover. She was also puzzled. This kind of situation has never happened before. It's too weird. I don't think we should use the ability anymore so as not to overdraw the ability. If the ability is overdrawn, it will take a long time to raise it. Restoration ability. After all, Gu Ming has experienced countless incidents. He restrained his emotions and looked around with cold eyes. Zhao Ran is right. This place is too secretive. Before you know it, save your strength. One thing comes to mind. He looked at Wei Ran. Suddenly Xiao Ran, quickly try to see if you can still retrieve things from your small world. The others also looked at Wei Ran in unison because of Jiang Nanfeng's words. Wei Ran suddenly thought of this. She quickly picked up something casually, only to see an extra basket of cherries in her hand. Wei Ran took a deep breath and patted her heart. It's okay. It's okay. This is not a supernatural power, so it won't be affected. Only then did everyone feel relieved. Jiang Nanfeng reached out and picked a cherries and threw it into his mouth. Self-comfort. With Xiao Ran here, it doesn't matter how poor this damn place is. Anyway, we don't have to worry about food and clothing. Wei Ran and the others decided to go elsewhere to see if there was any exit or other clues. It is impossible to use 2 legs in such a large place, and it may not be possible to walk all the way. So Wei Ran pulled out a 4-wheel drive off-road vehicle. Su Yi leaned on Yan Yan's shoulder and said lazily, it's been driving for a few hours, and it's still the same as when I first came here. If it wasn't for the different height and shape of the black thorn plants, I would think we were spinning around in circles. Gu Ming stopped the car to rest. Zhang Nanfeng ate the iced pear in his hand. No, this place seems to be unable to get out, as if we are going to be trapped here. At this time, Wei Ran looked up at the sky for a long time from the car through the black film glass, and then looked down at her wrist table, murmured a little puzzled. Yan Ying heard her whispering beside her. What did Xiao Ran say? I didn't hear clearly. Wei Ran turned to look outside at the dusk. Her eyes were slightly cold. It's been half a day since we came in, right? According to the present, it should be getting dark. But have you noticed? The sky has not changed a bit, and ... you look at your wristwatches. Everyone raise their wristwatches, get up and have a look. Dazed. Gu Ming said coolly. My watch stopped. Everyone else was without exception. Wei Ran's face turned serious. We're trapped. Southern base. It was already midnight after Music King came out of the Weapons Research Institute at night, and he and Chen Wei returned to Yihai Highland. Just appeared in the living room. The sound came from the kitchen. Chen Wei was stunned. Are there any thieves who think they live too long? Music King stood coldly and straight in the middle of the living room, pursed his thin lips and said nothing coldly. The footsteps came from far to near, and a familiar delicate face walked out, looking at Muzikang with a bowl of soup in his hand and smiling. Sweetly shouted. Brother Chen Wei's eyes were slightly surprised, and then he returned to normal without a trace. The corner of Muzikang's mouth curled up coldly. I didn't mean to go out to play. Why did I come back suddenly? Wei Ran had a soft smile on her face. Oh, it's not fun, so I asked Su Yi to send me back first. I miss you, and I made you soup. Go to Muzikang's side. But when she came over, Muzikang turned around and walked to the sofa to sit down gracefully, coming over with a domineering air. Wei Ran followed closely and placed the bowl on the tea table. I've been cooking this for a long time, why don't you try it? Muzikang squinted his eyes slightly and glanced at her. He said lightly, Ran is a terrible cook. I also cooked soup, it was black and thick. Chen Wei lowered his head and bit his lips, suppressing a smile. In contrast to Chen Wei's reaction, Wei Ran's face was pale and bloodless. Still explaining stubbornly, it's because I've been practicing secretly. Muzikang casually stretched out his index finger and shook it in the air. In the end, it's not this bowl of soup. The sound of her footsteps will change according to different moods, and her scent is unique, and most importantly, her eyes have the purest light. Wei ran every time Muzikang said a word. It was as if someone hammered the back of her head, making her mind go blank, and her whole body trembled involuntarily, as if she was in Linky. Muzikang leaned against the sofa with his broad back, and tapped on the armrest with his slender and clean hands. Do you know why I told you so much? Wei Ran didn't have room to think, and now she just shook her head subconsciously. Muzikang's mouth was full of remnants, and he said every word. You have to thank your present face. Because of it you can make death clear. He squinted at her with frosty eyes. The coldness slowly escaped from the thinned lips. But how dare you pretend to be her? Mew. Zikang's tall and slender figure stood in front of the French windows in the backyard of the living room, and the warm lights flooded Wei Ran's vegetable garden. Chen Wei came over and stood behind him. Brother Cheng, it's been dealt with. It's the former Qin Qianqian. Muzikang nodded slightly. Strangers cannot enter Yai Highland at all, so they can only be people who have been inside. One more thing. Chen Wei took out the satellite phone and his tone became a little anxious. I just made several satellite calls to contact Ji Yuming and the others, but no one answered. Muzikang turned around suddenly. His eyes were cold. Chapter 117. Jean Weiran, who was half-baked and trapped on the other side, struggled again, but still couldn't find a clue to the exit. Jiang Nanfeng's buttocks hurt from sitting in the car, and he called to stop. No, let's take a rest first. We have been driving for nearly 10 hours on and off. Gu Ming frowned slightly, estimated the time, then turned and said to Wei Ran, it should be midnight now. Xiao Ran, let's get the RV out, let's rest first. Wei Ran nodded in agreement. If you continue to search for this boundless place, the result will be the same, so take it easy. Now that you can get in, I can definitely go out. After she pulled out the RV, she looked into the distance, and suddenly a group of black objects was faintly visible. Little Briar? It was too far away to see clearly, but Wei Ran, who was a little tired from the long drive, finally ignored it. Lying on the bed, she completely rolled herself into the soft quilt, only revealing her clear and pure eyes, as if there was still Muzikang's clear and pleasant smell in the quilt. Let people forget. Brother. The next day. They set up a foldable table outside the caravan and ate steaming hot porridge with shredded chicken, shredded mushrooms and pork. Fortunately, Chen Wei filled Wei Ran's prepared dishes from time to time, and the food was still very good yesterday and today. Otherwise, just a few of them can only be fooled. Wei Ran stuffed a deep-fried dough stick into her mouth, looking helplessly at the desolate surroundings where she was trapped, while Xiao Bai was rolling and spitting on the side, and seeing those around her, they didn't feel frightened at all. But he couldn't help laughing out loud. Trapped in the barren land, we are the only ones who can do picnics. Su Yi joked, it's also a kind of old talk. Zheng Yanfeng put down the bowl in his hand. Fortunately, there is no danger here. Staying here for a few days is considered a vacation. Suddenly, the water glass on the table shook slightly. Gu Ming stood up suddenly and looked into the distance. Xiao Bai also growled in that direction. Wei Ran and the others immediately restrained their laughter and looked serious. Zhang Nanfeng and Su Yi immediately went into the exclusive cabinet of the RV and took out the regularly prepared equipment bags and threw them on everyone's backs when they came down. Wei Ran then put away the caravan, because the caravan was not used during the battle. Although there is still space in this RV, it cannot be wasted like this. She took out the laser gun directly from the space and threw it at others. Being calm and orderly is the most basic thing for them. There were several giant black thorns around. Wei Ran and the others spread out and waited in hiding. Crack. Snapped. Snapped. The rhythmic vibrating sound became clearer as it got closer. It seemed to be the sound of footsteps. Xiao Bai protects Wei Ran behind him. Wei Ran guessed that the thing had almost reached their safe distance. She glanced half-faced. Suddenly his eyes widened slightly. At this time, Jiang Nanfeng cursed in a low voice, "Your uncle. Just after I finished saying that there is no danger, this thing came when I turned around. We probably don't have enough teeth for it." Wei Ran shrank back, pinched the communication device on the left. "Let you talk too much, the good ones will not come, the bad ones will come. Fortunately there is only one, otherwise it will be enough for us as." Soon as the words fell, two more came out from the other side. Hey, Xiao Ran, let's be equal, that is, don't dislike anyone. However, why is it different from the outside? The big thing that appeared now is a rampant and brutal alien. But it is about 4 meters tall, and its body width is as big as 3 to 4 aliens side by side. Although it is taller, its actions are not affected at all. This is definitely quite disadvantageous to Wei Ran and his party who cannot use supernatural powers. If you don't pay attention, you will be seriously injured and you will die if you are serious. The one in front of him must be dealt with first, and they must not be besieged together. I'll give it a few hard bullets. Wei Ran looked sharply at the strange shape that was getting closer, and a black stripe carved with exquisite patterns appeared in her open palm, and she immediately held it. With a flick, it suddenly turned into a bow and arrow with a unique shape. She took out 3 small remote-controlled laser bombs and 4 arrows bundled together. Draw the bow fully. Wait for the alien to come within range of their attack, and wait for it to reveal the back of its head. Aim. Let the arrows go. Hit. The alien roared, its front paws frantically trying to claw back. Because the alien's front claws are relatively thin and short, it can't catch the back, so in order to prevent being torn off by it, it can only shoot from the back. Not to mention its weak point is the head. Get down. Xiao Bai pressed her down. At the same time, Wei Ran pressed the remote control. Boom. The explosion sound accompanied by blue light blasted the alien into a ball of minced meat. This alien was blown to death. But the shocking explosion completely rushed the aliens on the other side to Wei Ran's side. But only then did Wei Ran and his party see clearly. There were only 2 of them, there were 7 or 8 behind them. It wasn't too far away at first, and there was no time to escape, but after a while it was already near Wei Ran. Divide and snatched the minced meat of the companions on the ground. There was a slight surprise in Wei Ran's eyes. Xiao Bai is too big, so he is easy to be spotted. She stroked Xiao Bai lightly, and then Xiao Bai disappeared. Jiang Nanfeng was slightly nervous and lowered his voice extremely low. "Xiao Ran, there is one very close to you. His words stopped abruptly. At this time, a large puddle of viscous liquid dripped from Wei Ran's feet, and the smell was foul. She looked up slowly. A strange shape was staring at her with its sharp teeth bared next to the giant thorn, and rushed towards her. Xiao Ran. A few thunderbolts sounded at a moment. There were gunshots and bombs all the time. After Musicang couldn't hear any voice from Wei Ran, he asked Chen Wei to stay at the base, and he could make decisions on his behalf. This can create a false impression he, Musicang, is at the base and has never been out. Then he teleported to the small town where Wei Ran stayed. But after searching the small town several times, there was no trace of her. Follow the traces of the previous fight all the way to the border of the small town, and the mountain stands out in front of you. Gloomy, he looked at the building quietly for a while. Suddenly his eyes were cold. It disappeared in an instant. Xiao Ran, are you okay? Yan Yang helped Wei Ran to stabilize. Just at the critical moment, Su Yi teleported to Wei Ran's side and took her away, and the alien rushed to nothing. Immediately, Gu Ming's powerful lightning strike split the flying alien into coke and fell to the ground and broke into several pieces. It's okay. After standing still, Wei Ran took out several smoke bombs to cover the surrounding area, and then threw several smoke bombs towards Su Yi and Guming Jiangnanfeng. Let them go back here. At the same time, a four-wheel drive off-road vehicle was called out, and she and Yan Yang Yang got into the car. Shouted to those gentlemen, retreat first. Jiang Nanfeng stepped into the cab first. Guming Jiangnanfeng and Su Yi also quickly got into the car under the cover of smoke. The car was running at a speed of 200 hours, but the giant alien followed closely. Wei Ran took out 2 bazookas, and Guming took 1. She then stretched half of her body out of the window, her sea bath-like long hair fluttering in the wind, and her eyes aimed coldly at the giant alien behind her. Pull the trigger with your index finger. Boom! Guming followed suit on the other side. After the explosion, there was billowing smoke mixed with dust, and it was impossible to see what was going on. But the giant alien behind did not catch up again. Chapter 118. Do and take a step away from him. From yesterday to now, we haven't seen a living creature or anything related to food. How did these aliens survive and develop so well? Su Yi said as he continued. Looking through the rear window of the car, it was confirmed that the alien hadn't caught up again. Wei Ran couldn't figure it out either. It stands to reason that there is not even a single grass in this desolate land, only those giant thorns. She glanced at the thorns passing by outside. Who knows? These thorns can't be eaten. If you eat them, you should be stabbed to death first. She remembered that just now Su Yi used the teleportation skill again to save her. Su Yi, why? How is your ability now? Are you feeling unwell? Su Yi smiled. It's okay, there's still blood left. Wei Ran frowned, then turned to Gu Mingyu. What about it? Gu Ming replied coldly half. Jiang Nanfeng laughed out loud at this moment. How long has our group of people not dealt with this situation? We can't use abilities if we have them. It seems that we are really back at the beginning. Lost contact. Maybe he is trying to find a way outside now. Guming nodded coldly. We have a lot of lethal weapons with you, and it is not too difficult to deal with them, and we can still deal with them. Guming is the clearest about what weapons are in her space and what weapons are used in what scenes. The reason for the retreat just now was that they did not know whether there would be more aliens coming later, so they retreated temporarily. Guming's words made Wei Ran feel relieved. Yes, and weapons too. At worst a missile blows them up. But at this time Wei Ran turned his mind to whether the power of the missile was too powerful, and it would collapse this place. After all, I still haven't figured out what it is here. After Jiang Nanfeng drove for 2 hours, he found a black unknown object in front of him. Wei Ran and the others set up their guns and got out of the car to check. It turned out to be rotten and smelly meat, and it could be vaguely seen that it was a stump of a strange shape. Wei Ran remembered that the black objects she saw in the distance should also be the remnants of aliens, and also remembered that the aliens who had just been blown into minced meat by her were coming from behind to compete for food. She suddenly understood. The reason why the aliens can survive here is because they cannibalize their own kind. This kind of situation will never happen outside. Although the aliens are extremely ferocious, they never eat their own kind, even if they are dead. Same. But here, because of the lack of food, their strong desire to survive caused their habits to change drastically. Gu Ming looked at the pile of rotten meat. Let's leave here first. The possibility of aliens will be attracted to places with food. Wei Ran's small face was serious. That's right. Aliens won't dislike whether this is rotten and maggot-like, rotten meat. They stopped to make a camp after they drove for another 2 hours and hadn't seen the remains of the alien for a long time. Because the giant alien might appear at any time, Wei Ran didn't change the car again. Gu Ming installed a laser net on the roof to ensure protection. But it's still possible to have a good meal on the folding table. Wei Ran took a bottle of water to wash her dusty face and then took out something to eat. It's been a long day, and everyone is hungry. Jiang Nanfeng took a bite of the roasted chicken leg in his hand. I'm satisfied. Fortunately, I still have Chen Wei's food spirit to support me. I won't hate him again after I go back. Wei Ran laughed out loud. Chen Wei won't believe that your picture is the same all the time. Mouth. Jiang Nanfeng scoffed. Continued to nibble on the chicken leg in his hand. Gu Ming took out a tissue and wiped the oily shine from the corners of Jiang Nanfeng's mouth, and whispered to him to slow down. The same goes for Su Yi and Yan 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 on the other side. Either he feeds it or she hands it. Wei Ran was distracted by these pictures. The delicious food on the table is fragrant, but she has no appetite at all. All she could think about was Mu Zikeng. If my brother was here, he would be so meticulous. But he is not by my side now. If she can't go out in the future, then she will die alone here, and Mu Zikeng will definitely stick to the last place where she disappeared. At this time she was really afraid. Not afraid of aliens. The fear is that after 2 lifetimes they have finally revealed their hearts to be together, and they will eventually be separated. What I'm afraid of is that Mu Zikeng has nothing left in the last days. What should he do? Wei Ran regretted it. She regretted coming out this time. If she could go out ... she would never take a step away from him again ... There was another burst of trembling footsteps. The alien came after him again. But they were in no hurry to leave. The aliens are a group activity, and this characteristic has not changed from their previous siege. The bazooka launched by Wei Ran and Gu Ming exploded so loudly before. If there are other aliens, they will definitely catch up with them at this time. After all, the food here is theirs besides the same kind. Gu Ming set the protective net to be transparent. Wei Ran walked to the side of the laser protective net and watched the alien coming towards her coldly. The giant alien rushing to the first one saw the food and immediately jumped into the air, trying to dive towards Wei Ran. But when he was about to touch Wei Ran, he instantly turned into ashes. The aliens were extremely sensitive to danger, and those behind them stopped one after another, surrounding Wei Ran and the others at a distance. Su Yu counted the number of aliens. It's still the same ones, it hasn't increased. Wei Ran also noticed. Maybe there were a lot of them before, but later they became cannibals in order to survive, and the number gradually decreased. But the laser protective net cannot be removed now, because the aliens are too close. Once they are removed, they will not react, will be torn apart. Coupled with the inability to use abilities, they are just ordinary people at this time. Yan Yang frowned slightly. Then, we are going to be trapped in the laser protection net. The laser protection net installed on the car can go with the car without hindrance. Gu Ming walked up and said, "The only weakness is that those inside cannot attack." Wei Ran's mouth curled up coldly. Pointing at the aliens outside with his chin, "Anyway, we can afford the energy consumption, so these aliens are hard to say. Maybe we can see rare scenes of cannibalism. Because instead of walking around, the aliens will eventually catch up. It might as well just stay here." So Gu Ming adjusted the laser protection net to glow with a pale white light, so as not to accidentally hurt himself. The aliens outside were circling around the protective net non-stop, while the few of them were sitting on the folding table and drinking coconuts leisurely. Suddenly the alien turned and rushed behind them. It seems that there is what they want most. Jiang Nanfeng stood up with a puzzled expression. "What's going on? Why are they all gone?" Wei Ran took a step towards that side. She couldn't help it. And walked forward a few steps quickly. Her empty heart seemed to be filled in this moment. Chapter 119. After Muzi was injured, she remembered that she couldn't use supernatural powers here. She turned abruptly and hurried to the car. "Gu Ming is going to catch up with the aliens. They are chasing my brother." Gu Ming is the best driver among these people. And Gu Ming heard that Mu Zikeng was in front, and those aliens were chasing him, so he didn't know what to do. The instinct of his body that fully reacted has already driven him to get into the car. "Brother Cheng." The rest jumped into the car together. Gu Ming turned his steering wheel all the way, stepped on the gas pedal, and chased those aliens straight. After all, this car is still faster than the alien, coupled with Gu Ming's accumulated racing experience over the years, it finally surpassed the alien quickly and opened the distance. It continued to gallop forward and vaguely see a slender and cold figure walking slowly in the distance. As the car got closer, in the deep twilight, the blurry figure became clearer and clearer. Brother. Wei Ran's little face finally blossomed into a bright beauty. Immediately, the giant alien chased after him and was about to reach the safe range. Her eyes were cold. She jumped out of the car and ran towards Music King, and at the same time she threw a laser gun at Music King. Music King pursed his thin lips tightly with a stern face. His steady steps remained unchanged, and he firmly held the laser gun with one big hand. All the time. Wei Ran and Gu Ming were already surrounded by Music King. Brother Cheng. The giant aliens had already entered the boundary of their attack range and stopped. Some were crawling, some were standing, and some were half bowing. But no matter which one, they are biting and staring at their prey ferociously with sawtooth, gasping for breath as if telling others that they are bound to get it. Wei Ran moved closer to Music King. Brother, you can't use supernatural powers here. Music King nodded slightly. A slender and clean hand caressed her back. Don't worry. Suddenly, one of the crawling giants jumped up and rushed up. Music King said coldly, stay apart and fight each other. Before the alien pounced, Music King and his group quickly dispersed. Aliens like to act in groups, and there will be a siege with a clear division of labor which is hard to defend against. Therefore, the giant aliens must not be besieged, which is extremely unfavorable to them. Only by separating them can there be a chance of winning. The rest of the aliens had no choice but to attack separately after Music King and his group dispersed. 3 of them went to fight with Music King and Wei Ran. Music King shot at one of them continuously, but because the giant alien was too tall and it was close combat, it couldn't hit the vital point at all. Just as Wei Ran quickly turned over to dodge a jumping attack of an alien, another giant alien turned around and swung its thick tail as thick as a human body towards Wei Ran's head. And she concentrated on attacking the alien in front, completely unaware of the danger behind. Just as the long tail was about to hit Wei Ran's vitals, Music King pushed her out of danger. But he didn't have time to dodge and was hit hard on his back by the thick long tail. Music King was thrown several meters away by the strong impact and spit out a mouthful of thick blood. Wei Ran saw Music King, who was thrown not far away. His complexion changed in horror, and he turned pale with panic. Brother. This one was very powerful. Normally, a leather whip with the width of a finger can beat a person to pieces, let alone a person with a wide body and a long tail. If Wei Ran couldn't dodge this time, there would be no more Wei Ran in this world. Gu Ming and the others also noticed that Muzi was injured. Brother Cheng. But they didn't mess up their positions and rushed indiscriminately. Instead, they attracted the giant alien that besieged Music King and Wei Ran to them, so that they could buy time for Wei Ran to examine and treat Music King. Wei Ran ran towards Music King eagerly, but Music King realized that she had already stood up before coming over. It was just coughing and bleeding. She supported Music King and slid one hand to his broad back, touching several protruding bones. He suffered more than one fracture in his body. Wei Ran's eyes turned red instantly. But she just silently took out the special painkiller and fed it into Music King's mouth. Now we can only relieve the pain first, and the treatment can only be carried out after it is safe. Even if Music King had such an incomparably strong physique, if it were an ordinary person who would have suffered only fractures and internal injuries, he would have died long ago. Music King's eyes were cold and stern. Take out the Gatling machine gun. The ordinary Gatling machine gun has a rate of fire of 6,000 rounds per minute, while the improved Gatling machine gun in We're in Space can reach 10,000 rounds per minute. But also get rid of the heavy, so light and portable. An alien turned from Gu Ming and the others to attack Music King and Wei Ran straight away. Chug chug. Gatling machine gun gunshots at high speed. Muzikin quickly and calmly hung Gatlin on his body, protected Wei ran behind him, and shot fiercely at the alien that was rushing straight. The alien was bloody from the waist down, and was broken in two, with black blood flowing all over the floor. Even if Gatling can't accurately shoot the vital points of the alien, the continuous firing of 10,000 rounds of bullets is enough to melt any part of the alien. Wei Ran took out 3 more Gatlings from the space and gave them to Yu Wingjiang and Feng, and Su Yi He, who had already moved closer to Mu Zikang. With Gatling's blessing, the remaining 3 or 4 giant aliens finally smelled the crisis, turned around and fled back. Wei Ran used the immobilization skill to immobilize them one by one. Jiang Nanfeng viciously held Gatling up and fired at him no matter what happened. Escape? It's not that easy. I want you to taste Ling Qi's death. Guming, why didn't you tell me about this good thing? Guming raised his voice slightly next to him and said, I originally wanted to use a light gun to kill you, a rocket launcher. Jiang Nanfeng and Su Yi were taken aback. Even if the rocket launcher is light, it is still a weapon of the big guys, not to mention the few giant aliens now, even if there are dozens more. Gu Ming suddenly sneered coldly at the corner of his mouth. But it's still fun. Because he only picked the limbs of the alien to shoot, and in the end there was only one torso left. With Wei Ran's current ability level, he can't stay in place for too long when using the hold technique, at most 3 minutes. When the time was up, the last alien fled quickly. That was the alien that wanted to attack Wei Ran earlier. Mu Zikang, who was shrouded in haze, had frost on his face, and he slowly pulled it back with consciousness control. Click, click, the sound of bones breaking. Mu Zikang not only broke his limbs but even his cervical spine. But still let it live and then throw it on the ground like a rag. Ran, let Xiao Bai out to eat. Wei Ran with a cold face understood. In the next second, Xiao Bai appeared next to Wei Ran and kept pawing at her, growling and protesting that she had put it into the secret realm before. Wei Ran stroked its strong back. Okay, I couldn't help myself then. I left your favorite food fresh, go. Ho Xiao Bai looked at the victim. Mu Zikang tortured the alien who was neither dead nor alive, and his resentment towards Wei Ran disappeared.